All right, so we're looking at muscles that move the leg. Muscles that move the leg. This is going to be quadriceps. I don't think we're on quadriceps femoris yet. So this is the hamstring groups. The biceps femoris, semitendinous, and semimembranous. And then Sartorius is not part of that group, but it does help move the leg, and so I put it and just kind of separated it out here. This is the hamstring group here. I really like this picture, and I highly recommend that if you draw these out, you do them in muscle groups like this with these different colors. This is really a great learning tool to help you associate which muscles are which. You can also see that the semimembranous and the biceps femoris short head are going to be more deep, and the semitendinous and biceps femoris long head are going to be more superficial, which is really important if you were doing a hands-on dissection. I like the fact that you have different colors here, and so as you are coloring this semitendinous, pick a color and associate it with that word, and it will actually help you form more neural connections in your brain to retain it much better. This drawing here is actually one from Grey's Anatomy. No, not the TV show. The textbook, you can actually look it up online free. It's an older book, so it's free, and it has all of these different body structures. It's an anatomy book, and they're drawn out and labeled, and you can see here on the bottom where he's got those handwritten in, and these are really some wonderful diagrams. And if you struggle to draw, it might be easier to look at one of those pictures, and then people have gone and highlighted these different structures, and I think that is a great way to do this with some colored pencils. And then you're going to be learning it for the long term and not just trying to memorize it for a test and then forgetting it. Then when you need it again later on during a nursing exam, or depending on where you wind up working, you'll have it still. It'll still be in your brain. Okay, so biceps femoris here. The action is to flex the leg. It's going to help extend, and again, it has two parts. You have the long head and the short head. Okay, and so you can see these labeled as one thing, or you can see it as biceps femoris long head or biceps femoris short head. So this is one of the hamstring muscles. The tendon actually kind of unites with the short head. The long head and the short head do unite and come together. Here's another view here. That arrow has been moved a little bit. You should just shift that over to the right just a hair. And so you can see the long head and the short head. So I don't know how this arrow got moved, but this is the biceps femoris right here. Okay, right there. All right, so now we have the semitendinous. Okay, semitendinous. All right, this has an action of flexion of the leg and extending the thigh. Okay, and so it's going to be here on this side, opposite. So we had biceps femoris here, and then semitendinous here. And so again, these are muscles that make up the hamstring group. All right, so now we have the semimembranous. It helps to flex and extend. It is again one of the hamstring muscles. Okay, and you can see those here. It's a little harder to see on these diagrams. It's a small muscle, on these models. So again, if you drew these out, it would really help. I didn't have the best picture here, but it's this one that is underneath here, okay? And if I could get back to the school, I could flip it over and get a better picture, but we can't go very often. So this model we do also have as well. That's our little woman model there, but that's it right there, okay? I'm not sure, did I tell you the name was semimembranous? Anyway, there's the name. All right, so next we have Sartorius, all right, the Sartorius. And so it acts to flex and rotate laterally and abduct the thigh, so move it away. So it helps, it's the one of the longest muscle in the body. That doesn't seem correct, but anyway, so it's important in, I guess that is correct, it's the longest muscle. It's long and thin. It's important in doing scissor legs, or if you sit cross-legged. So if you're doing scissors for exercise, that is definitely one of the muscles that you are working there. Here are some more views on our leg model, okay? And so you can see it crosses over in the front. Much easier to me to see on these models. I really like these pictures here. So you can probably be sure these are the ones I'll want to pick for the exam, but definitely know all three because I may change my mind. All right, so more muscles that move the leg here. So the quadriceps group, there are 4 muscles that makes up the quadriceps femoris group. Okay, so all 4 of them together are called quadriceps femoris, and then they're made up of the rectus femoris, vastus intermedius, vastus medialis, so it's on the midline towards the middle of the body, and then vastus lateralis, so it will be towards the outside on the lateral portion of the body. All right, so rectus femoris here, we've got extension of the leg and flexion of the thigh. The origin is on the anterior inferior iliac spine. The groove, well, also a groove superior to the acetabulum, but it inserts then on the patella, which is the knee, of course. The femoral nerve, again, innervates this particular muscle as well, so it's important. All right, so vastus lateralis. So you want to pay attention. Remember, this is what's to the outside or the lateral of the knee. So look at how the leg is oriented here. If it's oriented this way, and of course the foot's going to be going down and being that way, you're seeing the outside, okay? If it's oriented the other way, and we'll see a picture for that in a moment, then it will be on the inside. Here's a picture from the little lady model, okay? And so you can see it comes down on the outside and attaches at the knee, at the patella, remember. All right, so we've got the vastus medialis. It extends the leg. So did the vastus lateralis. They both act in, their action is extension. And you can see this on both models and APR. This is a really good, fairly easy muscle to identify. But again, there are lots of these here in the leg. I would draw them out. It really, really helps. All right, next is the vastus intermedialis. I'm sorry, intermedius. It acts to extend the leg. All right, so moving on, let's look at muscles that... All right, so tibialis anterior here. I had recorded it. I guess I clicked over it. So tibialis is going to be near the tibia, and it is going to be on the front because it's anterior. So this is where understanding these words help. This helps with dorsiflexion of the foot. Well, where's the dorsal fin on a shark? Well, it's on the back, on the top. So if you're dorsiflexing, you're raising your foot upward towards the sky, okay? And then it also helps with some inversion. Pay attention to location. You've got lots of little muscles right here. What order do they go in? Draw them out. Draw a rough sketch of the shape and label them and know what order they go in. Do it 3, 4, 5 times. If you do that, you're going to know which one's which, okay? And you can even draw it out while you're taking your exam. And that will help you to remember it. So notice this one here goes down towards, it's on the side of the big toe. So always look at orientation. So the tibialis anterior is more in the center here, and you can see it goes to all these little ligaments here. You can also see it's coming down towards and extending all the way down towards the big toe, which is kind of hard to see in the other pictures. Fibularis tertis. This one is kind of hard to see. I couldn't find it on any of the models. It's a thin muscle, but it has a kind of an easy way to see it if you have pretty thin feet. Anyway, if you do dorsiflexion of your foot, you can see those tendons come up, okay? And so it comes down more on the pinky side, you know, your pinky toe, okay? And then you can actually see them a little better here, and those actual tendons and ligaments. It's kind of a gross looking picture, but I thought it illustrated this part right here very well. All right, so Extensor Digitorum Longus. Extensor Digitorum Longus. All right, and look, it is long. okay? And it does extension, so that's where extension comes from. Digitorum, what does digit mean? Digit means toes. So this one you should know is going to go down towards all the way to the toes. And you can see in this picture that is what it does. Now it doesn't go to the big toe, okay? It goes to toes number, or phalanges 2 through 5. So not to number 1, but 2 through 5. It does originate on the tibia and some portions on the fibula. And inserts down here on those toes. So this name tells you almost exactly where it is, and it tells you what the shape is and what it does. All right, here are some more pictures of the extensor digitorum longus on our models. You can see here. All right, so next is the flexor digitorum longus. So it's got flexion again, digitorum, so digits, so this helps to flex the toes. Again, the digits 2 through 5, and it is a long muscle. It also has the action of plantar flexion. It can also invert. The origin is on the posterior shaft of the tibia, and then it inserts along the toes. All right, so here we've got the flexor hallucis, Hallucis longus. This does flexion of the great toe, which is the hallux. We have the hallux and the pollex, or some alternative names. Pollex is your thumb, and hallux is your big toe. And so that's where hallucis comes from. It's talking about the big toe, so it tells you what it does. Again, it does plantar flexion and eversion. This is important when you are walking, and if you're walking fast or hard or running, and you want to push off. This is one of the muscles that you use to do that. Here are some other views here that you can see. All right, so next we have the fibularis longus. Okay, fibularis longus. This participates in inversion, so moving them out, and plantar flexion. And you can see it goes along the side of the leg. All right, so we're going to start with looking at muscles of the pelvic diaphragm and the urogenital diaphragm. These were muscles that I do not have any models for, so it's pretty much just APR images and then some images I was able to get to put on here that are just drawings and pictures, but they are important, so we do need to go over a few of them. Okay, so the levator ani is going to help form what we call the pelvic floor. If you're younger, you may not have heard of that, but if you're older, you know that the pelvic floor is very important. This is what tends to get weak after childbirth and cause things like stress incontinence. So like if you sneeze and you pee a little bit, and a lot of women experience that after childbirth. So understanding where these muscles are and what they are important. Some people will even have to have surgery. Anyway, so here's the APR image of this muscle here, and you can see it's a group of muscles here, and so this is the one here that we're focusing on. For the test, if I used this, I would, of course, block out all the other names, and for this one, I would just show this image, all right? And so some of these, I have up to 3 images, and I do want you to pay attention to all of those. There's 2 different models that we have in the classroom, and I try to use those and APR. Okay, so this is the coccygeus here. We've got one from KinHub here, and you can see this is colored nice and green. I really like it, the way they do those pictures. And this is another picture. We didn't even have this in APR, so I just had these images. So for the exam, I'm probably going to use this one, but do be able to identify it here, because I could just clip out all these words and use this one. So I would know both of these, okay? And so you want to look at orientation here and orient yourself and think about which way is the body facing. So first off, if you are standing upright, this is a cross section basically here on the bottom. Okay, and so which way is front and which way is back? Well, we have the sacrum right here, okay, and this is why learning this information to have for the long term is important, because it all builds upon each other. And in anatomy 2, where the origin, insertion, and innervation of some of these muscles are located, which is dependent upon learning those points on the bones, can also help you to find certain nerves, because the nerves are going to innervate through these, and it helps us to locate things. So this is why some of these small little details you probably think are just extra are so important, because it helps us to locate things. And unfortunately, you don't get to really see that hands-on this semester because of the situation we're in. But still, I hope you can see and understand why learning those features on bones are important as we go through some of these. All right. And so we've got the sacrum here, and so this is going to be the posterior section, and here you've got your pubic symphysis, so this is the anterior section, all right, and it's reversed here, so this is facing the other way. But you can see this is looking down from the top. It's basically a slice, and you can see how these are. All right, so now we're looking at some more here, and these are some very, very tiny muscles. Superficial, of course, what does superficial mean? Super means above. Transversus, so they're lying transverse. So remember to pay attention to those words when you make your flashcards. Go back and use those files that I gave you that show what the words mean. If you understand the words, it helps you identify and understand what you're looking at instead of just trying to rote memorize. It's so much more important that way. All right, so we're looking here, superficial, so the one that's more above, transverse perineum. So it's on the perineum. It's going to be lying sideways or transverse, and it's going to be a little more superficial. Okay, and so that tells you basically where it's at. All right, and now here on the APR image, this is a very small portion. You can see, you can't see a whole lot. So here in green, I really like this picture, and it shows you, and it is a little different for males and females. I did try to stick with, I think, the female for most of these pictures, but do know it may be a hair different. Okay, so the green portion there is that actually, it's not green in these pictures. So the male has much larger. Maybe I should have picked that picture on APR. Go to APR and be sure and look at the male picture. That might actually be better. And then you've got it here as well. So perineum here and here. I was actually pointing at the bulbospongius. So do know, if it was me and I made my flashcards, I would actually draw and label these two pictures out, because if you draw and label that out, which one is male, which one is female, you're going to know these, and you're not going to have to spend 30 minutes with a flashcard just trying to memorize it. You're going to understand it, okay? And so you can see on this picture how they're laying transverse. So this is basically this section right here. Okay, I forgot to put a little warning that there are some graphic images here. So if you're at home with children, there are some images that are graphic. Not a ton, but there are some. Okay, so the next section of this triangle here is the bulbospongius. All right, and so again, up there at the top, we've got the male versus the female. All right, and this actually has some interesting functions. It helps to compress the erectile tissue. So we know men have erectile tissue, but we don't tend to think about the fact that women also have some erectile tissue. And so this helps that to respond in part of our sexual response. Okay, it also can compress the vaginal orifice or the opening. Okay, and then for men, it would be the greater vestibular gland. All right, and then we have the ischiocavernosus. This one also helps to compress the erectile tissue of both males and females, and it also helps males to maintain their erection. All right, well, this is a very small area. The sphincter here is important. This helps to maintain continence. So if you're incontinent, this may be a weakened area. All right, so we're talking about urine incontinence here. This also in males can help prevent semen from entering back into the bladder. So this is what helps you control, start, and stop whenever you want to void your bladder.